Welcome back, everyone. Pal Ponder on Weather here. We've got multiple rounds of severe storms, including a lot of heat that's really going to be building in much of next week. So let's take a look at the details going forward and look at the satellite picture this morning. We've got a pretty significant area of low pressure draped across portions of the Tennessee Valley and much of the Mid-South. That's going to be the focal point of rounds of severe storms. Later on this afternoon, we also have a leftover outflow boundary from the severe storms from yesterday over parts of the Dallas area. That's south of the I-20 corridor, and that's going to be the focal point for more severe storms, I think, later on this afternoon. So looking at the details and the latest update from the Storm Prediction Center, they do, in fact, have that enhanced risk for severe storms across the Tennessee Valley and much of the Mid-South today. So we're talking all three modes of severe storms, mainly very large hail, damaging winds, and that isolated tornado threat is definitely the main concerns during around 4 to say 10 o'clock time frame. There's the slight risk across portions of North Texas, and I feel like it's going to be mainly south of the Dallas-Fort Worth region, right along the I-20 corridor where that leftover outflow boundary. And we could also have more stronger storms back into portions of Colorado later on this afternoon, but the heat is really going to be starting to take over for much of the South, including parts of Texas. Ahead of that, actually ahead of a little bit of a cool front that's going to be drifting from the north. So we could be looking at some pretty dangerous heat indices later on this afternoon, approaching the 110 region, 107 there in Dallas. And that's just the beginning stages of what's to come, really, for a lot of heat that's going to be building for much of the week. But look at the, where the rainfall is going to be over the next 24 hours. So we've got, with that low pressure center, this is definitely welcome rain across portions of Illinois, back in Indiana, but especially Ohio. I mean, we could be talking several inches of rain. So definitely could be looking at some flash flooding because these regions have been bone dry, but heavier amounts draped across portions of Kentucky as well as into Tennessee. So these are actually welcome rains for some of these areas, but unfortunately some of those are going to be on the form of severe storms. So let's take a look at the setup going into Monday. So like I mentioned, there is a little bit of a cold front, and that where that boundary, where that clash is as the warm air slips from Mexico, it's going to be right along this boundary. That's going to be the additional focal point of more rounds of severe storms and heavier rains where that boundary will lie. And that's the setup going into your Monday timeframe. If we take a look at that setup, to the south of there, we have additional rounds of severe storms. So likely towards the Wichita Fall region, back here into West Texas, draped across North Texas again, and then right along that boundary just south of there, and around the Louisiana region, portions of southern portions of Mississippi, getting into Alabama. And then along the Carolina coast, we could be looking at some heavier to strong to severe thunderstorms as we heat it up in the afternoon time frame going into your Monday afternoon. But overall, if we kind of depict the next 2 days of where the heavier rains will be, check this out. So you got that persistent northwest flow moving in from Montana down through Colorado, draped across Kansas, through Oklahoma, and then shifting southbound into North Texas regions. And then you have the heavier rains right where that frontal boundary will be, and then that powerful low pressure. So if you add up the totals, we could be looking at several inches of rainfall, and much needed rainfall for a lot of these areas that are desperately needing a lot of rain with this rapid drought in this region that it's quickly so these soils are really dry up in this region. But going into your Tuesday time frame, there's the cold front. It's already going to be lifting back up as a warm front. So again, right along this boundary, that is we're going to be additional rounds of some severe storms, and then the heavier rains are going to be further to the north. We still have some more heavier rains into portions of Michigan, as well as into portions of New Hampshire, back into Vermont, as also including Maine by the time we head into Tuesday afternoon. But there's the severe storms again on Tuesday, again, right along that focal point where the cold front backs up as a warm front. And then we could be looking at additional rounds of more severe storms across southern portions of Oklahoma, back into the North Texas region again, portions into Little Rock, heading into the Shreveport region, back into Jackson, into Montgomery region. That's going to be the highlighted area for those severe storms on Tuesday. And then the heavier rains will just shift a little bit further south, again, right along that warm front. So there's the boundary into Arkansas, into Mississippi, back into Alabama, including Georgia, as well as Tennessee. So that is going to be your main focal point of all the heavier rains as you transition into Tuesday. But again, it's all about the ridge. So this ridge starts to really start to build and slowly moves further north as we get deeper into the week. So by the time we head into a Wednesday, that northern periphery lifts a little bit further north. So just on the northern side, that's where the shift is going to be of where the severe storms are going to be. And then the heavier rains are going to be just along that boundary. So you can actually see that setup heading into your Wednesday timeframe with light to moderate rains draped across, again, Tennessee, portions of the southeast, and welcome rains back again for portions of Ohio, back into West Virginia, as well as into Pennsylvania, as well getting into New York, and as well as New Jersey. So this is the favored probabilities of where the rains are going to be highlighted on your Wednesday. But heading into your Thursday, say Friday time frame, there's the ridge really starting to take notice, and it's right going to be basically parked over Texas, lifting up into Oklahoma, and kind of putting the brakes on when it gets to Kansas. And then we got a low pressure center out here with that active subtropical jet. So your storm threat is going to be draped across this boundary on the northern periphery. And then underneath, that's where the high pressure is, and all the sinking air will be. And then the rain will be distant memory, because you'll start to heat up in a big way and then start to dry out in a big way as well. So if we take a look as we head into Friday, with all that heat really starting to build, we could be looking at record high temperatures by then for a good part of Texas. We're talking potentially 15 record high temperatures unfolding for a good part of the South, as that ridge will be becoming really evident by then. And that, I think that just continues as we get deeper into your Father's Day. So here's the setup. So again, as the ridge starts to build, you can actually see this. There's the low pressure center right off the coast of California. And then there's on the 500 millibar, you can actually see where this shift, this ridge is. It's essentially right there. So anything south of that boundary, it's going to be pretty hard pressed to rain in that type of atmosphere. And then that's going to put the storm threat, we're up and over the ridge and traversing down from northwest down to the southeast. And I think that's exactly how your next weekend is going to play out. So if we take a look at where the heavier rains will be by the time we get into Saturday time frame, it's right on the northern periphery of that ridge, right? So you got, rains back in Nevada, getting into Utah, over portions of, getting into Wyoming, down through eastern portions of Colorado. And then that swings to the northern periphery, getting into Arkansas, back down into portions Mississippi, into Alabama, back into Georgia. And then you'll have your own little low pressure center that you're dealing with up there across the Great Lakes. And to the right of there, you'll be having your heavier rains shifting into good parts of the Northeast by then, going into your Saturday time frame, heading into your next weekend. But there's a preview of Father's Day coming up by the time we hit the 18th of the month. These are actual temperatures, folks. So we could be looking at several days in a row as an impressive heat wave really starts to build through Texas. I mean, widespread triple-digit heat coming. And then finally, that will lift further north. So now we're talking the triples reach into Oklahoma. The triples actually reach back into Kansas by then, as the ridge will start to build and start to expand into Louisiana. And eventually this will encompass Mississippi and Arkansas. And I think eventually this will actually encompass parts of Missouri as well, as that triple-digit heat will be taking over that region. And then there's the rain as we head into Father's Day weekend. It's away from that ridge, right? So it's just to the right of there where you have a little bit more unsettled conditions where the rain activity could take place. I know a lot of people probably want to be outside. You want to be grilling for, hanging outdoors and spending time with your dad. Yeah, so this is where the setup could be as we head into your Father's Day time frame. So going into the tropics, this is hurricane season. This is the time of year that we always look out into tropics and see if we have any sort of tropical waves or anything like that brewing out there. And looking at the latest ensemble member guidance for the next 10 days on the latest EPS guidance, we really don't have any really members of the latest guidance to speak of any tropical waves that we have to be concerned about. There is actually a stronger wave that's coming off the coast of Africa, and these waters are extremely warm for this time of year. And there are subtle hints of this active wave trying to kind of hold together as it gets towards the Lesser Antilles. But again, this is 10 days out. This puts into the first official day of summer. And if we look at the latest GFS guidance on the ensemble members, we kind of see the same thing. This is comprised of 31 different members. And this is out 10 days. So the same 10-day time span. They do have a couple. They have a couple members, and that's about it. So 2 or 3 members out of 31 isn't anything at all. So you want at least 20, at least probably 40%, probably 12 or 15 members showing something around this region to increase the probability of some sort of tropical entity, maybe even hinting at forming. But right now, there's not much to speak of. Even on the ensembles guidance going forward over the next 10 days, there's nothing official from the National Hurricane Center, and there's nothing looking even remotely likely from the ensemble standpoint of the main global models of the European as well as the GFS as well. So that is your tropical update, and I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me next update where I protect you before and after the storm.